Yeah, I could go first. I am shirtless. I am the non-Polish member of the founding team here. But regardless, yeah, I on the team. I do a lot of the BD work as well as previously I was on or I was doing a lot of the marketing as well as growth effort. But now I've transitioned to a role that looks more like front end design, UX, and UI experience design as well as the BD work that I'm continuing to do. But yeah, so my prior experience is actually a bit non-traditional. So I come from a hard science background. I actually studied chemical engineer and was a chemical engineer in a previous life within university as well as elsewhere. So my focus was actually on electrochem and battery research technology. And that was also simultaneously how I got into building products at the early stage. So right after school, I joined a battery startup in Boston, in the United States, in the upper or northeast side of the United States. And there I really learned and got an appreciation for more of like the operations as well as the finance side of the early stage tech company, in addition to the research work that I was doing. So that was really my first foray into, early stage tech companies of any kind. Around that time, I was also very interested in crypto from like a high level philosophical level, just doing personal readings, listening to podcasts, playing around in the space myself. And it really became kind of like a hobby for me outside of the work that I was doing. Eventually, it got to a point where I was kind of faced with the decision about going either into the pure academic route of pursuing chemical engineering on a more scientific level in a PhD program, or really pursuing like my passion in crypto as well as entrepreneurship that I had developed on the side. So around that time, kind of reconnected with the team here that we currently have at Spice, and we decided just to make the leap. So I dropped everything from my previous career. I jumped into crypto full time, and now I'm working on Spice as one of the co-founders. It's nice to meet you, and it's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, and I'm Uguay. My background comes from traditional finance. So I used to work in investment banking, like mergers and acquisitions and leverage buyouts, in kind of like covering mega cap deals. So most of the work that I did focused on large banks, financial institutions, as well as some tech companies, some of which kind of operated in the metaverse and gaming space. I've been kind of like trading crypto since 2017 or so. So I've been had a vague understanding of it, but around DeFi summer, got involved with a few DeFi protocols. Was one of the first policy members over at Olympus DAO, which was quite an experiment to say the least. And then left in order to come work on Spice Finance and the NFT finance space. So that's largely what we've been working on now. And my role at Spice Finance is mostly around the financial engineering as well as the kind of like product development side of things. So coming from a finance background, I kind of have a bit of a stronger understanding of how to play the financial markets for where NFT finance is going.
All right, that's really nice. You've got quite a experience here in this industry. Space Finance project is well known in our community. There is a few members who follow you from the very beginning, and we are excited about what you are building. But not everyone is familiar with your project, and I think when we release this on YouTube, there is gonna be few people that don't know about you. So can you tell what is this project all about? Space Finance, yes.
Yeah, I can give a high level overview. So yes, so the problem that Spice Finance is trying to solve is that lending against NFTs is a very complicated process. So for those of you who may not even know what NFT lending is, it's effectively the transaction wherein a NFT holder can put up their NFT into escrow or put it up as collateral and borrow loans against it. they would want to do so they would want to do so to effectively unlock capital from that NFT without losing custody for it. So as you can imagine with this type of transaction, there's really two sides of the market, right? The first is the borrower, who is the user that holds the NFT. And then there's the lender, who effectively funds the loan that the borrower takes out and then earns interest against that loan. So we are looking at the lender side of the market, and there seems to be an issue on the lender side of the market where lending against these NFTs is very complex. We think that the source of complexity for the lenders really stems from two areas. The first is that NFT lending is extremely fragmented in its current state right now. So there's 30 different NFT lending marketplaces on Ethereum mainnet alone. Some are live, some are going to be live within the next several months. And each of these NFT lending marketplaces has different lending mechanisms involved with them. So some of them are P2P, for example, some of them are P2Pool, and then some are even hybrids of these two mechanisms. So as an individual lender, not only do you have to absorb information from each of these NFT lending marketplaces, but then also the diverse set of information presented by the different mechanisms that each of these lending marketplaces deploy. Additionally, the loans in and of themselves are backed by NFTs, right? So this makes the loans a bit more risky or have a lot more financial sophistication involved as compared to fungible token lending, let's say. So for example, NFTs, as we all know, are much more liquid than fungible tokens. And so, the price volatility of these assets that are being collateralized for the loans is much greater than that for fungible tokens, which introduce risks for the loans in and of themselves. So the individual lender that's looking to earn yield against these loans has to be pretty financially sophisticated in order to determine the right strategy in order to earn the best risk-adjusted yields. So we think that these two problems is like a source of pain on the ground for these lenders. And the solution that Spice is looking to bring to market is effectively to build infrastructure such that power users of Spice can kind of log on to the Spice protocol, be able to spin up vaults. The vaults will aggregate the loans across all the marketplaces in the industry. It would construct a portfolio of the loans that optimizes yield for the predetermined lending parameters that the power user has decided in spinning up the vaults. So for example, what NFT lending marketplaces they want to route to, what NFT collections they want to route to, and let's say the value at risk that they want to incur. And then from there, like any vaults product, the power user can then deposit capital into that vault, and then it will get automatically routed to the loans that were specified in that portfolio that was constructed. On the other hand, if you're just a yield farmer looking to gain exposure to the yields available into the space, you can log on to Spice's platform. You'll be able to see all of the vaults that have been spun up previously by other users and the associated strategies with them, and then allocate capital according to where you want exposure. So the goal of Spice in building this product is really threefold. The first is on the lender side, we're looking to reduce the barrier to entry in order to fund these loans, and as such, kind of pump liquidity or more liquidity on the lender side into the system. For the borrowers, as more and more liquidity comes, as Spice hopefully brings in more lending competition, the rates at which people borrow should compress over time. And as such, the volume at which people borrow against their NFT should increase and help the space grow overall. And then the third is like for the NFT lending marketplaces that exist, Spice just wants to be another source of liquidity for these players. So hopefully, be synergistic towards the growth of every player in the industry and help everything kind of grow towards the future.
All right, that sounds really interesting. Is there any project like you? Do you have some competition in this area?
Yeah, I think the only other project that could be considered somewhat similar is MetaStreet. There are a few differences between us and MetaStreet. namely that MetaStreet doesn't aggregate just any protocols, like they only aggregate P2P lending protocols. And the infrastructure that they have for like NFT lending is pretty basic. So they don't really take into account like the prices of different NFTs as well as the volatility. But that said, that is like another protocol that's kind of building something similar. Our goal, the one difference I think I would note is that we plan on integrating MetaStreet, so we plan on being let's call it like a larger aggregator for the space as a whole. If MetaStreet loans, look to be a good risk return profile for the vaults. And so in the case that MetaStreet vaults do look attractive for NFT lending, that's kind of something we would aggregate. And I think at that point, our products would be very, very different from each other. Whereas our product is kind of deploying strategies, their product is just getting yield on like P2P platforms.
Okay, gotcha. So you are doing something new, something that we don't have in this crypto space. That's really nice to hear. And when I look on your app, on your website, there is two vault options. There is Prolog Vault and Leverage Vault that was, I think, recently released. Can you tell us differences between those two, and which product is for what type of users?
Yeah, I can give a breakdown. So I guess the first to note is that the Prolog Vault was released with the launch of the protocol. So it's been live for about a month and a half, 2 months at this point. The Prolog Leverage Vault, or the Leverage Vault, was released yesterday. So this is just in tandem with one of the newest features that we released. So the Prolog Vault was a way to kind of bootstrap liquidity for the protocol, as well as give access to NFT lending yields to our earlier supporters in the space. So what I had mentioned previously about deploying capital to these NFT loans and reducing the barrier to entry, reducing the complexity in the space, that is the purpose of the Prolog Vault. So right now, the Prolog Vault deploys a, let's say, medium risk strategy that lends capital to all of the NFT collections that have been listed in our docs. So those are the whitelisted collections on the Spice Finance protocol, and routes to X2, Y2, NFT FI, Arcade, BendDAO, and DropsDAO. So right now, it's just like it allocates capital to both P2Pool mechanisms like BendDAO and DropsDAO, and then also runs a bidding bot that bids for loans across the other three protocols, that being NFT FI, X2, Y2, and Arcade. So the source of yields for that Prolog Vault come from external of the Spice Finance protocol, right? We fund loans that exist on those platforms. They return the principal of the loan that is taken out, as well as yields, and that is the yields that Prolog Vault depositors see on their end. For the Leverage Vault, so the Leverage Vault is a bit more complex because it's very much tied to the Prolog leverage feature. But in short, the Prolog leverage feature, the product that we launched yesterday, was effectively a way for us to kind of add utility for Prolog holders. So this will be an exclusive feature on the Spice Finance protocol, but effectively, if you own a Prolog, you'll be able to take out a loan and loop that loan back into the Prolog Vault in order to effectively boost your yields that you're earning in the Prolog Vault. So the Leverage Vault is the source of the funds for those loans that Prolog holders are taking out. So if you want direct exposure to the loans that Prolog holders are taking out in order to increase their yields on the Prolog Vault, you deposit into the Leverage Vault that is live. So we've personally seeded the Leverage Vault with an initial set of capital to service holders, but as more and more loans are taken out as more and more leverage requests are made by Prolog holders, the yields on that vault should start moving. But that's the main difference, right? So the Leverage Vault services one type of loan. That's a loan internal to the Spice protocol. The Prolog Vault funds loans that are external to the Spice protocol.
All right. Yes, you said about your NFT collections Prolog by Space, and this is not just only profile picture, but there is another use case. Can you tell more about it and how we can use those NFTs?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing to note is that the NFTs are like simultaneously a PFP collection, but then what's called there, it's like it falls within a class of NFTs called financial NFTs as well. How it relates to our protocol is that it's like simultaneously both a receipt token for your position in the Prolog Vault as well as a ticket to access the vault. So what the receipt token means is that if you trade your Prolog NFT, then you're also trading the underlying position that it represents, right? So if you deposited 2 ETH into the Prolog Vault and you trade away your Prolog NFT, then you're also trading away that 2 ETH. So there's interesting like kind of dynamics that come into play in trading this asset because the value of the asset is not just the speculative value of the artwork, but it also represents like the position in the vault, let's say. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that it acts as a like gate card to access the Prolog Vault. So not only is it a receipt token, but you need to hold the Prolog in order to be able to deposit or withdraw from the vault. So similarly, if you trade away your Prolog NFT and it's the only one you have, then you will no longer be able to like deposit or withdraw into the Prolog Vault. So that's what the NFT is in particular. Now, the utility that we've added onto this NFT as of recently that I had mentioned in the previous question is the ability to take out leverage against your Prolog NFT. We thought this was a pretty unique utility because it's a way for you to be able to boost your yields on the Prolog Vault. And, only Prolog holders will be able to access this feature, especially as we look further into the release of the flagship vault, which would be a public access vault. This is something, if you hold the Prolog, you'll only be able to get access to if you hold the Prolog NFT. So I think that's really where the utility kind of comes in. We can kind of dive into the Prolog leverage if you want, but that's at a high level what the NFT is.
All right, so let's stay with this NFT topic. And do you have plans to maybe release another collection, something different from this first one, Prolog?
Yeah, so we don't have any plans right now, or at least we don't have anything to reveal to the wider community about releasing a secondary collection. Although we think that we've been listening to community feedback from the first launch, and it seems like everybody really enjoyed, the process of getting artwork that's kind of tied to the Spice protocol, as well as this like exclusivity feature of being able to access a vault where other people may not be able to. They also liked the Prolog playoffs, which I think was a success in terms of getting the community really involved in the bootstrapping of liquidity for that vault. So it's definitely something that we thought got good reception and we're definitely open to in the future, but we don't have any plans right now to unveil to you. A little teaser that I can maybe give is that we've gotten outreach from like other protocols. We've gotten outreach from other protocols that we're connected to, and they're actually very interested in potentially launching a vault similar to the Prolog Vault. So you may see, Spice not only being a way to bootstrap new vaults or create custom vaults with lending strategies, but it may also be a platform where people kind of launch their own NFTs with similar utilities or similar functions as the Prolog NFT as well. So could be interesting to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, one of our users of this, our member of this Discord, saw that you were using Diamond Peps from the GMX ecosystem. Dopex ecosystem, and you use it in your memes. Is there gonna be some cooperation between you guys? Is maybe this what you talk about putting a vault on your site, something like that?
Yeah, so nothing confirmed, but we are pretty close with the DopeX team. One of our other team members, Shreddy, he also works at Jones DAO, and obviously they built vaults on top of DopeX, so there's pretty heavy overlap, and we're in constant communication with them. But I can't reveal or confirm anything at the moment.
Okay, so a little bit more questions about cooperation. So we know that Berachain is coming to crypto space, and they are really connected to these NFTs and everything that is around NFT space. So do you have plans to maybe cooperate with them?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, something that we're working on right now, like separate from Berachain or like the Bond Bear NFTs. Something we're working on right now is effectively standardizing and commoditizing the ability to launch new vaults and strategies to lend against NFTs. And I think once that is finalized, it'll be fairly easy for us to spin up a vault for like the Berachain ecosystem and effectively allow users with capital with Ethereum to lend to the Berachain ecosystem, and also Berachain holders or Bear NFT holders to be able to lever up and borrow against their NFTs. So that's definitely on the radar. And I think that's probably one of the earlier projects we would like to launch a vault with, as there's pretty big demand there.
All right, that's really nice to hear. So now we have a question about maybe potential token on your platform, and some people, some members from this Discord are really interested in this stuff, and they want to ask you because they are really into space finance. And do you have plans for token? If yes, if so, there's gonna be distributions and all the specifics, if you can share it.
Yeah, so we don't I think like the simple answer is that we don't currently have a plan for a token. That said, as a team, we are pretty big believers in decentralization. And so whatever path we need to take to decentralize the protocol over the long term is something we're going to do. But I can't say that we are launching a token anytime soon.
So when you talk about the decentralization, first thing that comes to my mind is DAO. So there's going to be DAO with token to govern it.
I mean, like I said, I think it depends on what the right way to decentralize the protocol is. DAOs with tokens tend to be the most popular. That said, I think like one thing we want to make sure of, and this is something that we've picked up through our experience in crypto working for various DAOs, is you want to take a pretty steady state, progressive approach to decentralization. You don't want to do it too quickly or too early, because that way you're unable to deliver the product to the market. Like launching a token, for example, can kind of although it might be a good way to raise liquidity and decentralize very quickly, it does sometimes like reduce the level of focus the team can have on kind of building a good product and bringing it to market. So I think for us, it's really like we want to be pretty thoughtful about whether we release a token. If we do, what does that token look like? What is the like distribution? Make sure that all the edge cases have been thought through, that we have proper governance, etc., and that we whatever we do build or whatever we do decentralize is like the foundational work necessary to make sure it succeeds long term. It's already done. That's probably like the most I can give on that. It's something we think about and discuss very often internally, but it's not something that we're planning on launching in the very near future.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you shared those information. I like this that you are not rush with the token, with the decentralization, because we see that this is in many cases is not a good direction. So it's better to keep it really calm and just slowly evolve in this direction. So going forward, for now, when I see DeFi Llama, and there is almost 700,000 total value locked on your protocol. So what your goal? What do you want to reach till the end of the year with the TVL?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think the goal for TVL by end of year is, I think 10 to 20 million would be what we're aiming for. Just with launching, a variety of new vaults, new features, better yield, etc. And we think assuming like we don't go into a deeper bear market, I think that's quite achievable for us.
All right, so that could be big change, because now not even 1 million and then 20 millions. Yeah, I like that. I like that you have really big plans for this project. Can you tell me how many people is in your team?
Yeah, so right now there are 4 people on the core team. It's Ube, myself, Niyat, who is our core dev, and then Shreddy, who's our head of growth and marketing. But our team doesn't just consist of the 4 core team members here. We also got Spice Team 6 in our community, who have been very valuable to us in order to spread the word, and then obviously like the Prologue holders, who we consider very helpful and amongst the team as well, because they definitely help us bug fix as well as suggest new features in order to make the protocol better for incoming users as well. But that's pretty much it.
Okay, so you don't have token, you don't have plans for tokens. So how you raise capital? How you raised capital for all this operation and to cover all the expenses?
Yeah, so we did last October, I want to say, or this past October, we announced a fundraise. We fundraised from a few VCs for like a pre-seed raise. We raised $1.7 million just to build out the project and kind of work toward the long-term vision.
Do you have some revenues from fees or from the users that they are putting capital in your platform?
Yeah, so the Prologue vault we are not charging fees at the moment, just because we're kind of still in this phase where we're beta testing in many ways and launching new features. So no fees on the Prologue vault. There is a 10% interest fee on the Prologue leverage loans. And that's something that we launched yesterday. So we'll see what those revenues look like. And I think the largest set of revenues actually comes from our own portfolio of loans. So we have we have a small allocation in the Prologue vault itself, but also we have a separate vault, like a personal vault that we have for just testing new strategies and implementing new kind of feature designs. And so I want to say we have like close to $500,000 that's just out there kind of generating interest from loans. The goal is to effectively turn on fees at a certain point once the protocol is ready. So that's kind of going to be the main source of revenue. And then also like whatever capital we had raised, whether it's from additional capital raise or whatnot, to have that all inside of the vault that we launched so that it can also earn yield.
And what is your runway? How long can you survive without extra revenue?
Yeah, so I think at the moment, I haven't run the numbers in a while, but I think we have well over a year and a half's worth of runway. So we definitely have a good amount of time to kind of get the revenue piece up to date. And then we're also, I think it's worth noting, like we're also secretly working on I guess not so secret now that I'm saying this, but working on a V2 product, something a lot larger than I think like what our original plans were, so a bit grander in scale. We're hoping that product also brings in additional kind of revenue streams for the protocol. But I can't reveal too much about what that is.
Sure. That's this answer is satisfying. So in the space, you're well known from the strong meme games. Can you share with us who is author of these memes and how he coming up with these ideas?
Shirtless, you have to take credit for this.
Which memes are we talking about?
There is many memes, and we really appreciate them. So, is it your idea? You are the author.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of memeing early on into the protocol when we were like bootstrapping growth, but a lot of the recent memes are that from Shreddy. So definitely, yeah, I mean, you know, we both work on them together, but I can't take credit for the ones that have been posted recently.
All right,
but yeah,
all right.
We try to meme as much as we can.
Yeah, I think that's a strong meme game. It's really a good advantage on this market because we have degens that they are insane sometimes. So good memes is always really nice. And we have question about your nickname. So why shirtless?
Oh yeah. So this is a good story. Talking about memes. So I guess the origin of it comes from I don't know how many of you guys lift weights in this channel, but you know, there's a meme that you kind of start lifting weights in order to you know, get some girls. But eventually, as you start lifting weights and you start getting into it, you realize that lifting weights doesn't get you any girls, and muscles doesn't get you any girls, right? So now you're just left lifting weights for no reason. And eventually, when I started getting into crypto, you know, everybody goes by pseudonyms, and I figured that I might as well give a new purpose to my weightlifting. So now I, you know, lift weights in order to increase shareholder value and increase value for customers, and that's all the motivation I need to continue. And that's why I'm shirtless.
That's what a strong means.
Yeah. This is really interesting idea. Yeah, I like it. So yeah, just do your job. Just, you know, keep lifting. And,
exactly.
Sure. So your product NFT is in it looks like something that is connected to Dune, to this book, to this movie. So who came up with the idea and why something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we came up with this together as a team. So Nia, Uguay, and I, when we were first ideating the protocol, we wanted to tie our protocol to a story because we think that, you know, simultaneously tying some kind of narrative to the protocol itself really makes the meme gains very strong, and then also it's like a very exciting thing for people to rally around. So like our lore, our narrative was very like purposely chosen, but really like the origin, like Dune kind of came after, but what we really wanted to lean into was first, like the spice name kind of calls back to the early spice trades. So you know, the Silk Roads of old, the spice trades between Europe and Asia. This is really where like global markets kind of started arising from. And we wanted to make a kind of an analogy to NFT finance being like the origins of the new global economy going forward. So this is really a callback to that. But then we also wanted to incorporate, not only call back to things of old, but incorporate themes like going into the future. So it's leading more into like the sci-fi side of the narrative and lore. And if you guys know Dune, the story at all, this is like exactly what the theme of Dune is. So we kind of just leaned into that kind of storytelling that already existed naturally. So that's really how we kind of like started using a lot of like Dune themes and things of that nature in the spice storytelling here.
Yeah, personally, I really like book and I really like the movie, so it is really nice to see this team on the NFT. And another question is, what is the main challenges to integrate DeFi market with NFT? And that's the question.
Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely, there's a few challenges. I think the biggest challenge, or there the two core challenges. One is financial, and the other one is they're like different customer bases. So the customer base is one. NFT holders and DeFi users are completely different. Like they're completely different sets of users. There's not much overlap between them, and so trying to build products in between is quite difficult because you're trying to give a UX that works for both parties, or even trying to build products that work for both. It's always a little bit more difficult than if you just had we're building for just DeFi degens, for example, long term. But I think the problem that we face the most with regards to building an NFT finance and overlap into DeFi, I think there's like not many users really know this, or very few people know this, but NFT finance is both incredibly complicated, but it's also where we believe the entirety, like all of value in the metaverse or in the digital economy is going to accrue. And that's because NFTs can represent any type of asset or any type of metadata. In terms of NFT lending, for example, NFT lending is like pretty much as complicated as options trading, but then you also have to deal with the fact that all the NFTs have different prices, right? So you have NFTs that are some are rare, some are less than rare. They all have different prices, and so like that complicating factor just really begins to make things a lot more messy. And so I think a big challenge that we generally face is there's not many DeFi concepts that we can actually bring over into NFT finance. A lot of what we have to do is from scratch, and we have to come up with new innovative models about how the future of decentralized finance in a non-fungible way is really going to look like.
Yeah, and I wanna ask you about your opinion because now we see that this NFT FI market is getting traction, and some people, some influ maybe are telling us that this is gonna be the next narrative in a space. So, what do you think when this will happen, and if this will happen?
Yeah, I don't want to be too bullish here, but I think NFT finance is really going to be like it's like a super cycle almost. There's no like one way to think about it is like fungible token finance, or everything that we know in DeFi is just a subset of what NFT FI can offer. So that regular DeFi is maybe 1 to 10% of what NFT finance will be. And that's just because NFT finance you can do more with it. So we're obviously incredibly bullish. We're like gigabulls when it comes to NFT finance, and if it's the next narrative or not, we're going to continue building because we believe that in the future, eventually all value will accrue to this space.
Shirtless, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I share the same thesis as Uguay here. I think we're really building. So right now, the use cases of NFTs are really for PFPs and collectibles, right? But PFPs, if you think about it, I think that it represents more than just a shitcoin with the picture. I think PFPs will persist over time, just being the digital or the visual identification layer of the metaverse at large. Just being just having the space be a synonymous space. I think adding a visual layer, which PFPs is extremely valuable. Not only that, but like Uwe was kind of alluding to, we're really building towards a future where NFTs kind of become the financial primitive or the economic primitive of the metaverse at large, right? If you look around at your life, most assets that you own, most things that you care about are non-fungible, meaning that you can't exchange one for the other, right? There are houses that your house, even if you live in like a townhome or something like that, may be identical in structure to another house, but it has the attachments of everything that you own within it, the memories that you own, et cetera, right? And that really is like the nature of non-fungibility. So we think that for whatever the metaverse kind of looks like going forward, a lot of the value really accrues to these non-fungible assets. Kind of the bull case for this is like if you look at like the total value of the assets versus like the M2 money supply of the world, you can kind of compare, you know, which one has more value versus the other. It's kind of like the bull case with NFTs versus like cryptocurrencies or fungible tokens today. In particular, like, you know, we're really looking at real world assets coming on chain represented as NFTs, you know, digitally emergent assets such as GameFi assets coming on chain. Those will be represented as NFTs. And then even like financial positions, right? You're already seeing things like the Prolog NFT representing a financial position in a vault, or like Uniswap V3 LP positions represented as NFTs. So we think that the space is going to blow up, and, you know, financial, I think a financial derivatives layer, the space that we're playing in, will be extremely valuable, not only for users, but, you know, for companies like ours that are trying to build and bring this value to users as well.
All right, thank you for sharing your vision on the stuff. We know that NFTs sometimes are really illiquid, and this is big volatility in the price. Is this something that is challenging to manage on your vault, and or have like a big impact on your product?
Yeah, so this is fundamentally some of the core infrastructure that we designed. Like two pieces of infrastructure that we built our vault around. The first is aggregated appraisal. So we have appraisal systems that give us an idea about what the price of an NFT might sell for today. Obviously, it's never perfect, right? There's always some error, but the ML models that we're currently aggregating are giving us sub 1% errors in terms of pricing about what those NFTs might sell for. The other piece, like you mentioned, is volatility, right? Like the prices of those NFTs fly around left and right. How do you determine what LTV you should lend at, what APR you should charge? So that's the second piece of infrastructure that we built, and it's effectively a set of volatility and risk models that you can standardize, plug in any kind of NFT, ID, or collection, and it is able to spit out kind of like what is the risk level, like what is the volatility for the NFT. And so when we plug those two pieces of infrastructure into our vaults, I mean, those two are completely automated. Our vaults are able to kind of outperform and excel in terms of being able to generate yield and generate alpha within NFT finance. So I would say it's definitely a bulk of where our work goes into, is making sure that infrastructure is sound and able to be scalable. But it's also fully automated, and we've been pretty happy with how it's performed thus far.
Do you think that there is a way to reduce gas fees and to deposit or withdraw money from your vaults?
Yeah. So that's definitely, I mean, that's another thing we're working on, is just making sure, or looking to create more gas efficient systems. Our Prolog leverage vault, we're working on some other changes that we're going to be pushing in the next week or two, which should reduce the gas. And then, I don't know, Shirtless, if you have any takes on the Prolog vault, but I think the gas for the Prolog vault is usually somewhere around $10 to $15, which I think is pretty standard for just depositing and withdrawing into vaults generally.
Yeah, I would agree with Ugo there. I think the Prolog vault is pretty good on gas usually. I think it fluctuates sometimes. Like recently I checked and it was a little high, but I think that was a function of the network costs being high more so than the Prolog vault in and of itself. I think for the leverage vault, or at least for Prolog leverage, the fee, or the gas fees for the Prolog leverage are actually pretty near that for any other NFT lending platform. So if you're looking to borrow against your NFTs, you're paying like similar levels of fees. Although, we're not personally satisfied with those fees, and we're looking to reduce them where possible, to what Ugo was saying here.
All right. I want to ask about your future. So maybe I will connect two questions in one. Do you have a? I know that you are really new on this in the space, and this is a fresh product. But do you have plans to expand to other blockchains? And what is your roadmap? What's next coming? What is your focus on?
Yeah. So I think, I guess on the roadmap side, our next step is really to standardize the production of new vaults, and so increase the amount of vaults and different strategies, as well as like just different risk parameters. So users can choose between different strategies. They can choose between different risk levels. We're able to spin up vaults left and right for any types of collections, sets of collections, etc. That's kind of next on like the most immediate step on the roadmap. We are, like I mentioned before, we're working on a V2 product. I can't reveal too much, but we are exploring other blockchains as well in terms of expansion there. I think that's really going to be a function of, where is there good volume, where are there strong NFT communities that want leverage, and then also, what chains are best for kind of supporting, whatever products we end up building. So we're definitely looking into other chains. And then in terms of our roadmap, like I said, standardizing, commoditizing the new vault spin-ups, improving the APRs across the board, expanding to new collections, and in general, scaling so that we can hit that $20 million target by the end of the year.
And what is your marketing strategy to onboard more users to your platform?
Yeah, I can kind of speak to this. I think there's two marketing fronts that we are looking to deploy. The first is what you could call like a B2C marketing front. Something that we are looking to lean more so going into the future, and this will be headed by Shreddy, is like kind of connections to DeFi users, right? Although NFTs is like the medium upon which we earn yield, our product is really like a DeFi product, right? It's like a yield farming product. So we want to look and expand our marketing, or at least target our marketing on our Twitter, more so towards the DeFi crowd, kind of leaning into the set of users that, for example, Uniswap LV or Uniswap V3 kind of targets. So that's on the first front. I think the second front is what we'll call like the B2B marketing, or the B2B sales front. And this is kind of working with, doing Discord AMAs with communities like yourself, as well as doing stuff like with the DopeX community, or even the Bearer community, and helping people or communities or DAOs kind of open up their own vault on our platform with a specified lending strategy. And then from there, we can provide them a way to earn yield against their treasury that's like otherwise dormant. So I think that's another method that we're looking to utilize in order to increase the protocol TVL and usage in our customer base.
All right. So we're getting closer to the end. I have two more questions. So if someone from audience want to jump in and ask questions, just raise your hand and we'll put you on the stand. And in the meanwhile, Ugway, tell your story, how you learn Polish language.
Yeah, so my Polish isn't the best, but both my parents actually, they moved to the US in the late 80s, early 90s. I grew up, my household was quite Polish, very Polish, I would say. So I used to go to Polish school, learn all about Polish history, reading, writing. My parents always made me speak Polish at home. So that I've been kind of ingrained with that. And, I like to travel to Poland whenever I can, whenever I have some time off. So when it comes to that, I'm quite Polish, I would say.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. So when you're gonna be here, and maybe there's gonna be some conference, let us know. Maybe we can meet up and drink some Polish vodka. And
my favorite is Żubrówka.
żubrówka. Sure. We know that this tastes really good. So I got the last question, and is about recent hype on a Twitter. So what do you think? There's gonna be price for the Arbitrum token?
Ooh, this is a good question. Actually, like the team, we all got pretty solid airdrops, but I don't know that we haven't been speculating on price yet. I mean, I think. Do you know if the price was like, let's say, $1, what the FDV would be? Do you have any idea?
There's gonna be 10 billion tokens, so yeah, so $1 is 10 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm generally much more optimistic about Arbitrum than I am about Optimism. I think there's just more like natural retail demand, and seems to be like better purpose for DeFi. So I wouldn't be surprised if you have let me see what Arbitrum or Optimism's FDV is these days. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you're talking about like $1.50 to $1.75 per token. I think that'd be a good price for it to land at. I think if people were selling for $1, I'd probably be buying. So.
All right, and Shirtless, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a little less good at estimating these things, but I would defer to Uguay for this.
The best person to ask is Shreddy from a marketing team, and he's pretty close with the Arbitrum team from over at Jones DAO, so he's probably the right guy to ask for pricing.
All right, so we need to go to your Discord and maybe there catch him there to ask. I've got two people that wanna come on the stage and ask you a question. So firstly, Bielik, yeah, you are on the stage, so go ahead. You can ask question.
Yes, thank you. You have only 555 items in your collection. Why so few?
Yeah, so we chose the number. Well, first of all, what we really wanted to do. So we actually spent, to be candid, we spent a lot of money in order to create the artwork that we wanted. We really wanted to reward our early community members with like the best artwork possible, right? And we were also running this this kind of bidding war for the rare pieces of art in the collection. So we wanted to select a number such that every piece of like for the artwork that we made for every piece of art, it would look very good, but it would also leave room for like the most rare pieces of art in the collection to be like very stellar and look very cool. So 555 was kind of the number that we landed on that could kind of thread the needle on both of those fronts. And then also we wanted to keep the user counts at a level that could be manageable, right? We wanted to launch the protocol effectively early and then use the user feedback from the 555 users in order to improve the protocol over time. So it was a way for us to like kind of reduce noise, focus on the product, focus on shipping features that users wanted, as well as like rewarding the early supporters, those that minted, as well as those that traded early with really, really cool artwork from the most rare one to one of the base artwork pieces in the collection.
Thanks.
Okay, so
yeah,
that was Bielik, and we have another one that wanna talk with you guys. So Robo is here, and go ahead. You can ask question.
Thank you, Kudo. Thank you, guys. It's great to listen to you. So just one query from my end, guys. During the call, you said that long term we should look at NFT finance not only as borrowing, lending against NFT, but you deeply believe that it's gonna be much more about NFT finance than just borrowing, lending against NFT. Could you elaborate a bit on this topic? And perhaps a second question as well, because in my view, we discuss a lot about NFT use cases, utility. we sometimes believe that there is lack of kind of identity of NFT or clear use case apart from belonging to the certain group. So my second question would be, based on your knowledge, experience, what's the most promising NFT use case for future?
Yeah. So your question, the first one was around NFT finance. What, borrowing and lending is probably it is the first stage of like a derivatives layer. So being able to borrow lend is like in the traditional markets, your lending or credit markets are 4 times the size of equity markets. Within mortgages, for example, you're looking at 50 to 60% average LTV on top of homes. So we think that a good amount of, like a large majority of value and liquidity is really going to begin to accrue to that lending and borrowing layer. After lending and borrowing, I think we're going to begin to see like more unique use cases, more unique financial products, like credit swaps, options. You have NFT Perp already come out, and they've effectively fungified like the collection floors, allow people to trade those NFT perps. So I think just mass kind of financialization of non-fungible assets is what we're going to really see. And I think that this is something that generally is difficult to do in traditional finance. And one of those reasons being that programmable money gives you the ability to play around with more financial products and more sophisticated exotic instruments in a way that you're unable to do in traditional finance, and in a way that, with regular fungible token finance, maybe you've seen a little bit of that with some of the more unique DeFi structures, such as like Curve, Convex, farming, etc. I think with NFT finance, once you've built out the initial infrastructure for NFT finance, things will probably explode pretty quickly. Another probably like good example is just within lending itself. Tranching is probably going to become quite popular, and so users are going to be able to take very sophisticated bets on which direction or which specific tranches they might want to lend at, in a way that that use case doesn't really make much sense for fungible token lending, or hasn't really come online, because the vast majority of value is kind of just being lent on Aave, where they're just charging everyone a single rate. So hopefully that answers the first question. I think it's like yet to be seen how crazy things will get, but it's pretty clear that things will get pretty interesting. And then in terms of the clear use case, there's kind of like 2 ways to, I think about what kind of, or what the use cases for NFTs will be. I think the way we really see NFTs is as a technological or economic primitive for representing digital assets. So probably the best one you see right now are Uni V3 LP tokens. So any LP, any liquidity provider on Uniswap, they receive an NFT for their position, right? And that's done because NFTs just serve as a better technological primitive in terms of representing time of deposit in a way that you couldn't do with fungible tokens. So that's probably your best current use case, aside from PFPs. I think some use cases that we're pretty bullish on, GameFi assets, are probably going to be pretty large. I think you're going to see much bigger volume there than you have in the PFP space, because for example, like CS:GO or Counter-Strike, or whether you're trading skins on EA games or any kind of Valve games, like there are large markets there, and there are large economies that have kind of propped up. Just recently, for example, the guys behind EVE Online, they just raised $40 million from Andreessen to put that game onto the blockchain, and they have hundreds of millions of dollars plowing through the assets there. So utility in GameFi seems pretty obvious to us. And I think the other area is really going to be around real world assets, though the regulatory front is a little bit less clear. But when homes and cars and various other property rights begin to get put on chain, such as intellectual property, for example, I think that also begins to serve a much better use case than just identity or PFPs as we see right now. So I'm hoping that kind of answered. I'll let Shirtless jump in here too.
Yeah, I was just going to make a note, I guess, to kind of summarize your second point there. But, like as it currently stands, the NFT use case of PFPs and arts and collectibles really looks like a luxury item, right? So in the same way that like if you own a Bugatti, although there's like a utility in terms of like driving, although you can argue how well you can drive that in all different cases, the real utility in that is like the network of other like Bugatti owners that you can kind of connect with, right? So it's kind of the same thing with like Bored Ape Yacht Clubs. As they're both luxury items, you get connections to the community of other holders or of other asset owners, right? And that really stops there. You can kind of add utilities here and there, but that's like extra to that core utility of being connected to the specific community of holders. I think what really gets exciting in terms of NFT utilities is what Uwe was alluding to in terms of NFTs kind of shifting its use cases to other things, because then the use cases such as the GameFi assets or real world assets coming on chain as NFTs makes like the utility for those NFTs pretty self-evident, right?
All right, thank you guys for this insight. Those are really interesting opinions that you serve us. Really appreciate that. Yeah, so that was everything from our side. Is there anything you want to add to this that I didn't ask you about and you want to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, nothing in particular. We're hoping that all of you guys, in listening to us talk here would like to participate in our protocol. We're definitely looking to reward early users of the protocol in one way or another, whether that's like building features exclusively for Prolog holders or in other ways to be announced going into the future. If you want to learn more about what we're doing, what we have planned, or have any questions, definitely come onto our Discord to ask us. It's just like discord.gg/slicefinance, all one word. And then we're always, having a good time memeing on Twitter, talking shit on our Discord. So if you want to hang with us, that's where you can find us.
All right, thank you, lads. That was really nice hour of really good talk. So thank you for your time. Thank you that you came here, that you share your insights from the protocol. And of course, we wish you the best. I think that this project have big potential to have a great success and just keep building and keep memeing.
No, yeah, thank you for having us. This was an awesome time. It's cool getting connected to the Polish crypto community.
Sure. So yeah, so see you around then, and that's all.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Cześć.
Bye.
Cheers.